Today's episode has been brought to you by Schedulicity.
Welcome to episode 83 of the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast. Today we hear from Daniel McIntire, a yoga teacher who grew his Instagram following to 25,000 and who then chose to pivot from teaching yoga to teaching yoga on the side, while he focuses in on helping others to grow and leverage their Instagram account. My name is Shannon. I'm a mother of 3, a yoga teacher, and a consultant and trainer for yoga teachers. The Connected Yoga Teacher podcast was created for you, the yoga teacher entrepreneur, so that every week between the classes, workshops, and trainings that you are teaching or attending, you can connect right here to information, ideas, and a supportive community of other yoga teachers. A supportive community can make such a difference. If you are not already a member of the Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook group, come and join us. We are almost at 4,000 members. It's yoga teachers from all over the world being supportive, offering help, asking questions. It's amazing. To join, visit theconnectedyogateacher.com and look for the join button on our homepage. Speaking of the importance of community, it is Samantha's birthday today. Samantha Scott, as many of you know, is my virtual assistant. What you might not know is that she is also my first cousin and has been a close friend of mine since birth. Literally. She's 8 days older than me. She would just cringe if I was saying that. It used to always be, I'm older than you are. And now it's quite a joke between us that I'm telling her, now you're older than I am. Samantha and I grew up together. We played hockey together, and now it is a total honor to get to work with her. It's a fun story of how this even began. The short version is that Samantha was talking to me as she was switching out of her role as a manager in the corporate world, and she was deciding what to do next. At the same time, I was telling her about the Connected Yoga Teacher and how it was growing really fast and that I was going to have to look for a VA. She asked me what a VA was and what work was involved, and as we chatted, we came up with this plan of her learning what VA work was like while she helped me and got some of the things done in the Connected Yoga Teacher business. What I discovered very fast is that Samantha is super efficient. She can build and fix and improve a website better than anyone I know. She has an eye for design and graphics, and she is a rock star when it comes to writing or editing online content. And from what Samantha has told me, she soon learned that she loves VA work and website design. I told a few friends about her, and her business started to take off. I will make sure to link to her website in the show notes. If you are looking for a VA or for some help with a website, I highly suggest having a chat with her. Feel free to also tag her in any questions in the Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook group when they have to do with systems, getting things done, organization, websites, and VA work. Anyway, I'm super thankful for Samantha on her birthday, but on all days. So I just wanted to give a shout out to her. Before we dive in and meet Daniel and learn all about Instagram for our yoga business, let's hear from Schedulicity because they have some big news on the Instagram front.
Hey Connected Yoga Teachers, this is Shannon with the Schedulicity Hot Tip of the Week. Schedulicity and Instagram work together in perfect harmony for your yoga business. You can connect your Instagram account with your Schedulicity business listing and automatically filter your images using a hashtag specific to your business. You can also connect your Schedulicity account with your Instagram business account to add a book button to your Instagram profile and posts. Catch the whims of your Instagram followers when they're the most inspired by your social media content. For more information, visit essentials.schedulicity.com or inquire at support@schedulicity.com. We'd love to help you get the most out of your online accounts.
Thank you, Schedulicity. Okay, so I just have to tell you, I added the new book button on my Instagram account, and it literally took me 2 minutes to do that. It connects directly to my Schedulicity bookings, and I think it is amazing. In the show notes, I'm going to link to a list. There's 7 steps that I followed so that you can do the same. If you use Schedulicity and you are on Instagram, you can link the two together so that people can book right on there. Alrighty, let's dive in and meet Daniel McIntire, the founder of influencers.com. As I said in the intro, he is a yoga teacher who grew his Instagram account to have over 25,000 followers. The numbers are pretty amazing. He has it posted that in February of 2016, he had 2,359 followers. And then by January of 2017, so less than a year, he grew his Instagram to be 18.2 thousand followers. And when I checked in September of 2018, he was over 25,000 followers. So today, you're also going to hear Daniel talk about his journey from yoga student to yoga teacher, how he experienced burnout as a yoga teacher, and how he is where he is now, where he's teaching yoga on the side and really focused in on the main work that you can tell really lights him up, this work of helping other entrepreneurs to grow their Instagram audience. In the show notes, you're going to find a link to Daniel's personal Instagram account as well as his business Instagram account. And also, I have to tell you, I was doing my research for this episode, and I discovered a huge resource that Daniel offers. It's a 43-page e-guide focused solely on building and using and leveraging your Instagram account for your business. So if you hear today's interview and you're inspired and you have more questions about how to grow and use Instagram for your yoga business, make sure to check it out. Welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast, Daniel. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you. Very good to be here. I'm excited.
Tell our listeners what your yoga journey has been like.
Sure. So, actually, I remember the day that I took my very first yoga class. It was April 9th, 2013, because for sure it was a huge day in my life looking back on it from where I'm at today. So I started in Portland, Oregon. That's where I live and was born and raised. And I just fell in love with the practice right away. I mean, the movement, the way my body felt within the first few months, it was like unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I knew that it was for me because I never really felt at home in a gym or, lifting weights. Just my body didn't quite resonate with that. So once I started my practice and I felt these new muscles and the way my body moved and everything just felt in sync, I knew I found something that was just kind of meant for me. And I never had any intention to take it further at that time. And I practiced for maybe 3 or 4 years just as a student before I decided to enroll in teacher training, because I looked up to so many teachers. And I thought, using the power of my voice and some of the stuff that I was really passionate about in terms of the yoga practice and the benefits of a yoga practice, I knew that I had value to offer people that maybe are new to yoga or even experienced yogis that enjoy their practice. And I felt that I could offer a lot of value in terms of guiding classes. And so I took yoga teacher training in October 2015. I believe I completed my 200-hour. And then I started teaching a few months later, and I've been teaching ever since then. I teach a lot less now. It's more of a hobby for me, which is right where I want it. And it's something I'm passionate about for sure. But when I quit my day job, and this is kind of like a huge change in my life for sure, when I quit my day job in the corporate world as a construction manager, I had no plan in place. So I didn't have anything to fall back on other than subbing as many classes as I could. I was teaching part-time before then. And so it just immediately shifted to like, this is what I need to do. This is all that I have to make income. And so I started teaching as much as possible. And that's when I really kind of blossomed as a teacher for sure. But I also, in teaching so much and subbing as much as I could and being like the guy that everyone went to for subs was a burnout eventually. So at that point, that was maybe 6 months after I was really hitting the teaching as much as possible. And I realized that, this wasn't sustainable in terms of the physical output that I needed in order to produce the classes that I wanted to produce. and B, like financially, I wasn't going to quite grow into, maybe being able to buy a house someday or, even afford car payments and all that stuff. So I decided that I needed to keep my teaching a part of my life for sure, and obviously my practice too, but I needed to find some other way to make realistic income, I think is the best way to put it.
Right. And so you sort of made that switch, but you said you are still teaching. Do you have like a
Correct.
weekly class now that you teach?
Yeah, I have classes. So I sub when it works out for my schedule. And I have a weekly class at a really awesome studio here in Portland, Oregon, a studio that I am extremely grateful to be a part of. And I've been a part of it since it opened. It's called Fuel Yoga Workouts in downtown Portland. It was built by two, like a brother and sister, and they founded it because they saw this gap in the yoga world between really challenging classes and the type of teachers that that wanted to teach those classes. At other studios I worked at, it seemed to be more about programming and getting people into teacher trainings, and it wasn't quite about the actual classes. And so where I'm at now is a really good spot for students that want to take classes with teachers that are really passionate about a certain type of yoga and getting a really good workout, as well as learning about the practice and the asanas.
Very cool. I did some yoga in Portland, Oregon. That's actually where I met my partner, Sean. So I have a real soft spot for that city. It's beautiful.
Yes, it's very nice right now. No rain.
Yeah.
I just jinxed it, I'm sure.
There was quite a bit of rain the first time I went to visit there, that's for sure. And some really strange donuts, too.
Yes, you have been to Portland. It's official.
And so the work that you're doing now with Instagram, how did you decide to move into that? Was that something that was already there, or did it just come up and you decided, let's pick that?
Yeah, I'd say it's a combination of those two things. So I had been using Instagram maybe about a year after I started my practice, because I was on I was really getting into handstands. I think my body just, for some reason, I love to work on handstands. I can do a handstand better than I can do a lot of other inversions. I struggle with headstands even, but handstands for me just resonate with my body. So I was messing around online, and eventually I got linked to some Instagram accounts of people that were doing just incredible handstands. And I was learning so much, and this was maybe 8 months into my practice. So I just was like immersed in this world of, seeing what's possible with a yoga, the yoga journey. And more specifically for me, that was handstands. So then after, following along people and creating an Instagram account just to kind of be a lurker, I eventually started sharing my own handstands and just, for fun, nothing in particular that I was planning to do with it. And then I, for whatever reason, just kept doing it. And that was a couple of years. I was working full time and traveling. I actually lived in New York for about a year of that time span, and I was practicing in New York. And so, leading up to basically when I quit my job, I had an Instagram account that I had been working really hard on for the last year. So like in 2016, to give you some time frame, I quit my job in the summer of 2016. And, for the 8 months before that, I would say I had been putting a lot of energy into Instagram because I had a couple thousand followers. It was just a really cool thing. I was getting into teaching at the same time. So this is right when I started becoming a teacher. So that was like something that I did for fun, and I was growing my account. It felt really good. But I never planned to do anything with it. I didn't even realize it was something that I was passionate about or that I was good at. And then when I quit my job, my day job, that is, I started doing whatever I could, basically. And that was Snapchat filters. It was just like helping people that had events. I could find these events online. I could email the people that were running them, and I could say, hey, Snapchat's a really awesome app right now. It's really popular. Do you want to filter for your event? Yada, yada, yada. And it was a great learning experience, but it wasn't realistic, I think, and sustainable. It was a lot of work, and it was not very much income. So doing that led me right into like this smack in the face idea of why don't I take what I've learned on Instagram and apply that to helping other people? And this was a huge shift that kind of brought me to like what my mission statement was, which was, I had been getting burnt out. This was right around the time I had started experiencing like a burnout as a teacher, teaching 15 plus classes a week. Mm-hmm. And I realized that, yoga teachers have so much, experience, so much power in their voice. And there was so many teachers that I was friends with that was also experiencing burnouts, or, wanting to do more and having the ability to do more, in my opinion. So I set out to start helping other yoga teachers and other yoga studios and then even yoga products like mats and straps and blocks and stuff like that, who had Instagram accounts. I would say, hey, I've built my Instagram account in the yoga world, and it's, the engagement's high. That's what I focused on. And for me, I was seeing all these benefits of helping people grow their Instagram accounts using just simple methods that were, based on being proactive and reaching out to your target audience first. So yeah, I just kind of fell into it in a sense, but I had this really strong background that, when I woke up one morning, I realized like, this is what I need to be doing. And it just made perfect sense. And from there, it was really easy to set up, I essentially built Influencers, which is the name of my business, in 24 hours. And I had my first client within 2 weeks. So it was kind of that easy because it was just sort of meant to be, I think.
Right. And so now what is it like for you on Instagram? If you think, okay, to have an impact on Instagram for yourself as a yoga teacher, how often are you posting and what kinds of things are you putting on there?
Yeah, I post less often with higher quality content. And high quality content to me is just something that makes me really proud. And if it's something that I've spent half an hour or an hour on, maybe writing a really powerful caption that uses language where it's kind of taking what I've experienced in my life or my expertise and sharing that with the world, then for me, that's really good content. And realistically, I don't think posting every day is a great idea, or even multiple times a day for sure, because it's really hard to kind of dig deep and put together powerful content, in my opinion. It takes even a few days to kind of like decide like, okay, what's going on in my life? What am I passionate about right now? Or what am I thinking about right now even? And I think posting a couple times a week, maybe for me, for example, I post once or twice a week, and it's actually maybe once a week, to be honest, because that's what works really well for me. And that's what I've found to be what gets me the most exposure. And I want, when I put out content, I want that to be seen, because I'm not going to put out low quality content or content that doesn't make me proud. And so if I'm spending time to create content, then I want to make sure that I'm putting myself in the best position to get that content seen and to hopefully help other people or share, inspire other people if that's kind of what I'm going for, or to teach other people about yoga or handstands, which is a lot of what my content's about. And so for me, it's like posting less often, but of higher quality, and making sure that you're putting out content that you're proud of is kind of the only real requirement I have in terms of, my strategy. And a lot of my clients, the funny thing is that I think there's so much disinformation out there on social media, and so many people are just getting into it and seeing that, I need to be on social media, whatever platform that is, but I don't know how to do it. And so I see a lot of people saying, well, I was told I need to post every day or a couple times a day, and so that my followers don't forget about me. But in doing that, they sacrifice the quality. And so eventually their followers, in my own opinion, do forget about them, because there's not much to remember if the quality is not really high and if there's not a lot of passion or pride behind the content. And so I think everyone has it in them to put out meaningful content, even if it's just sharing life experience and things that you've experienced and the way your life looks to you, or the way life looks to you in general, I think makes a really powerful post. And so I subscribe to that belief that everyone has the ability to put together an Instagram account that can help inspire other people and get other people to a better place in their life if they take the time to do it.
Well, that's amazing. And I like that it's good quality content over quantity. And
Absolutely.
so my curiosity now is, do you actually sit down and say, type it out on the computer and get it ready? Because I know, Instagram's really more so of a mobile device, or I always am using it with my phone. So do you kind of copy and paste that text? Because it sounds like you put quite a bit of time into it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I don't do anything that deep, to be honest, and it sounds like I do for sure. But what I do is just find like if I'm gonna say like, okay, I'm gonna post today. It's been enough time for me. Like maybe it's and I feel that pressure too to post. Like I feel if it's been too long, it's like I need to put something together. And if I feel that, or if I'm ready to post and I have something I want to talk about, then I just find a quiet space. I pull up my phone. I don't use my computer at all. I just use my phone. And I find something that I want to talk about. And maybe it's, for me, it's a lot of handstand related stuff because that's kind of my niche and that's what I love and I'm passionate about. So then I know that I can put out good quality content around that people are going to, even if it's someone that's not into handstands. I think learning about something can trigger a new passion or a new interest. So what I do is maybe find a quiet space, spend, literally up to a half an hour, and that's it. And I think in a half an hour, anyone can formulate something that they kind of excites them. And I think when you say like, okay, I'm going to spend a half an hour in a quiet space on my couch, and I'm going to think about, what's important to me right now, or just find a cool idea. And I'm going to sit for a half an hour and write about that for a caption. And you'll hear me talk a lot about captions because I think captions for most of us who aren't professional photographers and who aren't traveling the world taking these breathtaking pictures for Instagram, we have to rely on our value as experts in our craft or sharing personal experience. And we do that through captions because captions are where we can really create a strong connection, and our writing and our words can really shine through. And then I just pair that with a good quality picture that most of the time is taken on an iPhone. And so when I do that, I write my caption for 30 minutes, and then I pair it with a photo that I like, and that's a post for me. And that's something that I will then put out online, make sure that I'm up to date on the comments and replying with people, thanking people that take the time to put their energy into writing something that, writing a comment back to me, which I think is a really huge accomplishment. If you can get people to write comments back and your captions are triggering people to say like, hey, I love this, or, even if they disagree with it, it's a great thing to have people engaging with your content. And I think you get that more and more when you take time to slow down, not post because you feel the need to post, but post because you're inspired to post and you're taking time to write out a really strong caption.
So then if you are posting once or twice a week, then are you going in daily and checking for comments and replying
absolutely.
back? Yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
So it's not like
because
once a week.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So it's really about the engagement for you and the back and
Absolutely.
forth with people.
Totally.
I have to tell you that I feel really at home on Facebook, and I struggle with Instagram. And I feel like I'm kind of all over the place. I have one Instagram account. It's Shannon Crow Yoga. I don't have the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast. So on my Instagram account is everything from cat videos. I like to do a lot of my cat videos, my gardening, and my kids, and then some podcast stuff all thrown in with my yoga teaching. So is this too mixed up? Should I be looking for more of that niche?
Great question. Yeah, I hear that question all the time. Should I start another account because I'm doing this, and then I have my personal account, which I'm going to post cat videos and all sorts of stuff on? And it's a great question, and it's a conundrum for sure. I would say, I've come to the belief that you should have one Instagram account, and that should encompass who you are as a person. And I think this kind of gets into personal branding, where, I think personal branding is going to be kind of the forefront of marketing in the coming future. So if you're this well-rounded person and you have all these things going on, there's no reason why you can't promote a yoga podcast on your Instagram account, as well as share things about your life. And, you're gonna put out, I think, a better quality product overall on one account, because you're not going to feel that need to post on multiple accounts. And right now I have 2 accounts, and that is actually quite challenging. I make it work, but it's not easy. And there's times when I'm like, oh man, I feel that pressure. Like the influencers account hasn't had any activity on. I haven't posted in a while. I need to get over there, and I've got all this pressure now to put up a great post. For me, that works. That's fine. I can deal with that. But I think if you're like wondering, should I make another account? I think maybe the best option, and I tell this to my clients all the time, is to just own what you're going to put on your account, and own that you're this brand, and it's kind of like you have to disconnect from your ego a little bit, because you have to say, like, I am good enough to be. And I always tell people, like, in your bio, sell yourself, even if you don't believe like what you're selling, even if you don't think that you're the top whatever in your field, like put that out there and own what you want to become, I guess, and you will put out a better quality product, and you'll start to believe it. I think like for me, that's kind of a lot of what's happened. I've just recently updated my bio, and this is so minor, but like for me, it was cool, because I was like, I feel that I'm like this great brand builder now, and I'm a great social media expert, because I've been doing this for a couple of years now. And so I finally on my bio put up like brand building pro, founder of influencers, like it's something that I'm now like passionate about. And I'm putting that out on my yoga Instagram account, where I now talk about like a lot of freedom of time things and business related things, where I think everyone has the opportunity to learn from people or everyone has the opportunity to start a profitable business using their own personal brand. And so that's, even though it's a yoga account, my regular account, it's definitely transitioning into me being more of a personal brand account. So like when I look at your account, I mean, I think your Instagram story highlights are awesome. It's like a really well-rounded account that expresses who you are as a person. And if you wanted to start a yoga teacher podcast account for your podcast, that would just be, another avenue for you to kind of gain exposure. But I definitely don't think it's necessary.
That's the answer I want. No, well, that's really good, because I feel like I can hardly keep up. And then I appreciate how you said also just posting once a week, because that is very different to Facebook or something like Twitter.
Definitely.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you about was Instagram stories. How important is it that I'm doing stories?
That's a good question. I think they're addicting for me. I think that Instagram is a really smart company, because, and to answer like this question, I kind of have to talk about the Instagram feed. And, I don't think I don't think anything on Instagram or social media is make or break, as long as you're not posting offensive content or anything like that, or being hurtful towards any group of people. But I think that you can make mistakes, and it's not going to be there's not going to be any issues. So, when I look at Instagram, I think the feed is kind of this place where you want to put out your best stuff, and you want to have this flow, because that's going to get people to look at your past content and like pay attention to you and give you their attention. And it's going to create a really good first impression of you as a personal brand. Say you're a yoga teacher, for example, and you're putting out, pictures that have good lighting, a nice background, and there's a defined subject where like maybe it's you doing a yoga pose, for example. If you are putting out good pictures and powerful captions that you spend some time writing on your feed, then you're going to create this really beautiful flow that is going to kind of draw people in and want to learn more about you subconsciously. I think there's a lot of subconscious things that happen where people's attention just stays on an account if there's, those key things, good quality pictures and powerful captions. And then Instagram stories is this place where you can totally be whatever, there's no right or wrong answer for Instagram stories. I see all sorts of strategies kind of deployed on Instagram stories, and they all work really well. The one thing I think for me that is something to avoid is to put too many stories out and to like devalue the stories that you do put out. And that's kind of the same with content in general. If you're putting out too much content on Instagram, you're going to devalue your content. You're not going to get as much engagement on your posts, because you're going to basically snowball your old posts by putting out new ones. And so with Instagram stories, if you're if you're like, okay, I love Instagram stories and I'm going to put out, for me, for example, I try and put out stuff that makes people laugh. Or, maybe it's a really great picture that I just want to post and just say like, here's a picture of my cat. That's where you'll see a lot of my animals and stuff.
Right.
So, I always have like this kind of intention to put out some value still, always putting out value, of course. But, funny things where I'm like, you'll see me like messing around with my girlfriend and when she's on a phone call with a client, I'll be, poking her in the back or something, making some joke. Something that is entertaining and kind of shows the behind the scenes, I guess. So I think it's a icing on the cake for a really well-rounded account. And it's a way to express the other side of like this professional, personal brand that has to look really good. It's the other side of that, which is still important.
Right. And I like too how you can highlight them now. And so
Absolutely.
I was like, okay, this is what because a post about the podcast can be pretty boring.
Totally. Exactly.
So I started putting them in highlights, but then I think it was one of my kids that was like, it's not cool if you have it in your feed and in your highlight, Mom. You can't do that.
You have a Instagram marketer on your hands, it sounds like.
3 of them. There are 3 teenagers.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean that's actually, in my opinion, that's the correct answer. You can see that's what's great is if you say right now you're like making a story, I'm on a podcast, interviewing someone for the podcast. That's a great story. Then you just add that to your highlights, and now you're creating this collection of like things where someone wants to go down that rabbit hole of your brand, the podcast rabbit hole. They can see all this, stuff that you've done in the past. They can see what the podcast is about. And I think, one thing to touch on with what your kid said is that you can make things. Let's see. I would say that a picture and a caption don't need to have a ton of relevance. So if you're really and you have an awesome podcast, and so I think that's a huge thing to talk about in your captions. I think that would be a great avenue to create value on your Instagram account and inspire other people to do projects that they're thinking about doing. Starting a podcast for me is like a really huge accomplishment. And for you as like someone that's done that, you can share that experience in your post and then pair it with any picture, really. As long as it's got the 3 criteria I have that I think makes Instagram accessible and successful for anyone is a well-defined subject, good lighting, and an interesting background. And maybe that means like mountains in the background or, at a park, or contrasting colors compared to the subject. And with those 3 things, you can have a really awesome feed. And then, like I said, people that aren't pro photographers, we can use the caption to really add a ton of value into the audience and help people and help inspire people with our captions. And so for you, just thinking about what you're doing, if I was you, I could turn this podcast into infinite number of posts where I could talk about what it means to start a podcast, things that you went through, challenges that you've gone through, accomplishments, how it feels to be like, how proud you are of it, all those different things, paired with a picture that has those 3 criteria. You've got yourself a really complete post that's going to inspire people, and then you're going to be, I think you'll be really proud of that content as well.
So when you are working with people and helping them with their Instagram, how do you do that when Instagram is so much about kind of it feels to me like a picture in the moment with a caption? How do you do that for other people? So
it's important that I don't ever work on anyone's content. So like if anyone hires me, I'm not going to do your content for you. That's best done by you, by the person. So like it would be really hard for me, for example, to write about your podcast and to do your content for you. And it wouldn't be as good as if you did it yourself. And so for a personal brand, and I guess to preface all this, I work with small businesses and individuals mostly. So those, the budget tends to be a lot smaller. So that's, one thing to take into consideration. So what I do, instead of, putting content together for people and trying to kind of like be them and talk from their perspective, I help coach people and draw out what they are really good at, what they already have inside of them. And that's changed from, day one when I started influencers to where I'm at today, 2 years later. It's changed a lot. And at first I was like, hey, followers are really great. Engagement's the best thing, but followers are good too. And then I realized followers don't really mean anything. It's not really valuable at all for you to have a ton of followers unless you're, putting things in place to help add more value to those followers and then maybe funnel them towards a free product or a paid product that you're giving away or you're doing. So what I do now is mostly helping people bring traffic to their account so that they can put together things so that their content gets more engagement and they people in their niche, as well as helping people with feedback on their content. So, what I do with a lot of my clients is right when they sign up after the free week trial, I say, let's set up a phone call and let's talk about your goals and where you're at right now. And then let's talk about your content. And maybe, I have clients that have awesome content, better content than me. And they're doing a great job. They put a lot of time into it. So then it's like, okay, well now what's your goal beyond Instagram? I'm a coach and I want to sign up 10 new clients this year. So how do we get you to a spot where you've gotten one new client and then we can repeat that process? And so, giving away a free product that has like a free ebook, for example, that has to do with your philosophies and who you are and what your clients get from working with you. That's a great way to get people to your website and to start building a really awesome leads list that you can then take and reach out to those people, create new connections. So for me, working with people, it's about feedback and it's about strategy, long-term strategy for sure.
Right. Well, this is really good to know because I was thinking, how can someone be in my head and in my voice? And I really appreciate that you're saying, no, I don't do that. That's your deal. And it's the strategy behind it and kind of the content idea. It's probably easier to have someone from the outside say, hey, what about this idea?
Totally. I've had a lot of breakthroughs in my own content, and I've seen my clients have tons of breakthroughs, mostly just realizing that they have more value than I think they thought they did, and more things to talk about and to share. And going back to this idea of how much disinformation out there that gets put out there basically on the internet, I think there's I think there's so much disinformation that people get confused. They feel like there's all these rules, and really it's really simple. It's, a good picture. One good way to look at it is I think it's a mini blog. And I think blogs are kind of dying a lot because Instagram is really a mini blog, in my opinion. Facebook could be kind of looked at as the same way. You put a post out, you can write as much as you want, and then you can put a picture to kind of catch the attention of people. So I think that with all the disinformation there is out there, it can be really hard for someone that doesn't know, is it okay to do this? Is it okay to post less often? Yes, it is okay to do that. It's actually better to do that based on how the Instagram algorithm works, really, now that it doesn't show things chronologically. If you post less often, your posts can soak up more engagement that way. And when you put out better quality content, the algorithm will recognize if that's getting engaged with more. And if it is, it'll show it to more and more of your own followers. You have the opportunity to be featured under hashtags that you use. So I feel really bad for people that don't have enough time to learn Instagram because it's so much easier than I think a lot of people kind of think it is. And that's totally understandable.
Yeah, I feel like I've been kind of bumbling along and watching what other people do and talking to my kids. That's really, and they told me Mom, Facebook is for old people. So I was like, all right, I'll try Instagram. And I do really appreciate watching the stories, especially for some of the podcasters that I follow. It's fun because I get to see them playing with their kids or them, like you said, it's really light and you kind of get to know another side of people.
Yeah.
And so if someone decides that they want to work with you, how can they connect with you?
So if someone wants to work with me, I think the best way is to check out my Instagram account and see like if what I'm doing resonates with you. Like see if my account stands out to you. And if it does, then that's kind of what I'm trying to replicate with my clients. I'm not trying to get people to do what I do. What I'm trying to do is to get people is to help people draw out their own value and put out a really beautiful feed that subconsciously holds the attention of your audience because it is easy on the eyes, and then the captions are really awesome. So my Instagram account is at dmacyoga, DMAC, because my name's Daniel McIntire. So at dmacyoga, all one word. And then I have an Instagram account for my business called Influencers, which is a really hard word to spell the first couple times you look at it. But that's at INFLUNCRRS. So that's Influencers. And you'll see a lot of similarities between both those accounts. And you could even check out my girlfriend, who recently quit her job back in December as a personal trainer. And now she's got a lot of her own clients that she's doing this with. So it's a repeatable process, and everyone, you can look at a lot of my clients and they all look different. We're not building robots here at all, which is really important. But she's got an Instagram account at Court Rand Yoga, where, she's putting out her own style, but the captions, you can tell that the captions are meaningful. She's proud of the content she's putting out. The caption or the pictures have those three things: a good subject or a well-defined subject, good lighting, and unique backgrounds or contrasting backgrounds that help draw out the subject. So yeah, I think, and then from there, if you send me a message on Instagram, if you email me, or go to my website, influencers.com or hello@influencers.com, I'm always open to giving someone a free week trial of my service, whether or not, and I get this a lot, people say, I can't afford your service, but I'd love to try it out. I'm 100% down to do that, because that's a great way for you to see what's possible and to see, maybe there's more that maybe you can take this step further, this Instagram thing in your personal brand. And if that triggers someone to be more successful, I'm 100% down with being a part of that. And so there's a few different ways to contact me that are really easy.
Okay, that's great. We'll make sure to link to those in our show notes.
Cool.
And one other question I wanted to ask you. I recently put on, I think it's called Linktree on my Instagram. And I think this is a brilliant thing for all of the different, okay. So we'll I was like, is there anything bad with it? Seems to work fine. But I'll put a link to that as well in our show notes. So that's basically something that allows you to link to different things, because Instagram, the way it's set up, there's only one link kind of in your bio or.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, it's really smart. I've been sharing that a lot with people because so many people are doing different things, YouTube channels, podcasts, websites. So it's someone had a really good idea. I wish I had it.
All right. Well, it's been so great chatting with you today. Thank you for all of this information.
Absolutely. I had a great time, Shannon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Since I talked with you, I've been on Instagram a little bit more. I have to say I am loving Instagram stories the most, and I'm following different people. And as you said, everyone does it differently. But it was so great to hear your own story and how you really dug in and decided to grow your Instagram. I would love to hear from any of our other listeners. Connected Yoga Teachers, are you using Instagram in a way to market your yoga business and grow your audience? If so, I would love to hear about it. Send me a DM on Instagram, a direct message. I have a question about that. Why are we calling it a DM on Instagram? And yet on Facebook, I feel like we're calling it a PM, a personal message. Anyone want to answer that? I always have a lot of questions. Anyway, you can find me at Shannon Crow Yoga. If you search for that, there are underscores between Shannon and Crow and Yoga, but you will find it if you just search for Shannon Crow Yoga on Instagram. And you can guarantee that this will not be the last conversation that we have here about Instagram. I'm doing some more research, looking at having someone else come on to the podcast to talk to us in a few different ways about Instagram. So let me know your questions as well. Are you on our email list? I've been sharing more content there every week because sometimes I have more to add to the conversation. So if you are not, make sure to visit our website, theconnectedyogateacher.com, and sign up there. Also, have you checked out our worldwide map of yoga teachers? Yoga teachers from all over the world have added their contact information there. So you can find a fellow connected yoga teacher when you travel. You can go to their class or connect with them. And you can post your own website and contact information there. So it is a great way to network, find out who's in your area, and find out who's where you are traveling to. Last week, I was chatting about our yoga teacher community calls. If you are interested in being part of a 6-week online group with fellow yoga teachers wanting to grow and improve their yoga business, you can find more information at theconnectedyogateacher.com/community. There is still the option to book a one-on-one consultation call with me, but I have to say, if you want to do that before the end of 2018, it needs to be booked soon. Things are booking up quickly. So if you're thinking about doing that, jump on the website and look at the Work with Shannon button. Huge shout out to Nathan Hutchison, who sent us a voicemail. Here's what Nathan had to say.
Hi, Shannon. This is Nathan Hutchison, and I'm a fairly new yoga teacher, and I've been practicing here in rural Georgia within the United States. And I started listening to the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast shortly after I began to teach, and it's really helped me a lot. There are a lot of different aspects from the podcast that I've started to incorporate into my own classes. The episode that you had with Shai really encouraged me to undertake some Thai yoga bodywork training. And it's amazing the variety of knowledgeable guests that you bring on the podcast. You really cover a range of interesting, relevant topics, and incorporate that you include your own niche involving the perinatal period and pelvic health. And finally, I really enjoy the business aspect. I really resonate with your message that as yoga teachers, we should strive to set realistic prices that tell our students that we value our time and also theirs, and that we want our offering with them to be sustainable. As a side note, Schedulicity rocks. Keep up the great podcast. Namaste. Nathan.
Thank you so much, Nathan. So great to hear your voice and your thoughts on the podcast. It means so much. I personally love voicemails. If you want to leave me one, just go to our homepage, theconnectedyogateacher.com, and look for the button on the right. Thanks to our fantastic team at The Connected Yoga Teacher, Laura, Samantha, and Suzanne. You have made this possible. Thank you also, yoga teacher listeners. You are doing the work every week, and it is so great that you are sharing the yoga that really lights you up. Stay connected to self, to your practice, and to your community. Take care. Namaste.